Good afternoon, everybody. Goeiemiddag. Sanbonani, away vir Willem in die Kaap en ja,
Osja,
mos, ja. En dan seker gelukkige eksamenseisoen of prysuitdelingsseisoen. Happy end of the year exam season. I see a lot of people still jumping in. We're just admitting them as the day goes on. It's been a while since we had a tech talk, and I'm excited to have today's session. It's really fun. I just watched a video, didn't finish it yet. A guy that I follow on social media that speaks heavily on AI, and he says, the future is looking at us. You're welcome to turn on your cameras. I think we're in meeting mode. So if someone wants to join the discussion, we're not on the stage, we're around the table. Maar daar's geen druk nie, but do what you feel comfortable with. Just know that if your camera is open, you can also open your mic. We'll be seeing and hearing you. So just a proviso at a meeting. It's so lovely to see a lot of familiar names and faces in the chat box. And like I said, it's been a while since we had a tech talk, and very relevant in the day and age that we're living in. Our guest speaker today, I'm not going to be talking about AI. Willem Kitshoff, CEO from the D6 group, is going to be our speaker today. He's got a short presentation, but we want to have some interaction. We want to talk with you, about you, around you, but the more questions we get from the floor, the better the session is for you. So as julle wil, maak asseblief 'n plan, tik 'n boodskap in die chatbox, steek jou handjie op onder op die skerm as daar controllers. I think we're all Zoom fit by now. So just raise your hand and let's get the discussion going. To lead it in, yeah, my name is Rian van der Berg. I'm the Deputy CEO at FEDSAS. For those of you that might not know me, been with FEDSAS for the last 10 years now and have been driving the Center for Technology since the inception of it, and my start at FEDSAS, and then also recently established the Center for Finance and Risk Management. D6 operate in both centers. They've got financial products, which Willem will tell us a little bit about, but they're innovative in the tech space for schools and have been for a long time. So we're really happy to have him with us today. So Willem, baie welcome. We'll invite you on stage in a little bit. I would just want to open with 2 or 3 remarks. Anyone wants to contact anyone in FEDSAS, the Center for Finance and Risk Management, you can reach me at Rian, RIAAN, at fedsas.org.za. Email address is on the website. Our provincial managers, if you work through a provincial manager and your school has those details, they have a straight line through to me. So contact your provincial manager and they can contact us easily. We put out a tech magazine and a finance magazine on a quarterly or termly basis, and our last finance magazine reached over 1,500 views, which is brilliant. And I think Alreta will put the tech magazines link and the finance magazines link in the chat box so you can follow us and get those at some point in time. From about beginning of 2023, we started talking AI. And today's discussion is AI assist in D6, and now AI can make our lives better in general lives. I just want to share my screen for a quick bit before Willem takes over. And let's just lead in with a comment or two or a thought or two. Willem, is my skerm reggedeel? Alreta, like it out.
yes. Perfect. I can see it on my side, Rian.
Okay,
Rian is net
perfect.
in presenter mode. Jy moet net verander.
Okay. Swap displays. Is that better? That better?
100%.
That's better.
Okay. So, yeah, obviously we know FEDSAS, and I'm going to sound like a broken record if I tell you guys today that our slogan and mantra in the Center for Technology in the Tech Talk world has been, we've got to learn as we live, meaning we've got to continue learning as we live longer. but we also have to have our learning spaces reflect our living environments, our living processes, the tools that we use in day-to-day life. If they're not reflected in our learning journey, there's a disconnect between life and school, which we don't want. So more relevant now than ever before, I think. If we do not adapt to the tools of our time very quickly, we're going to lose the relevancy or the interest of our processes and our learners. I'm very happy to say that the FEDSAS theme for 2025 is something that excites me and something that really stirs a lot of passion. Is excited about tomorrow, opgewonde oor môre. And that immediately invoked in my mind, in my heart, the fact that tomorrow is coming. We've got hope to live for tomorrow, but tomorrow is part of education. If education is not future focused, then we're in the wrong space. And if we look at maybe what Moga Dutt said earlier today in the talk that I listened, the future is looking at us and staring us down a barrel, and it's coming at a pace that I think, in my mind, that is the biggest discomfort. It's not that we change, it's how fast we change, because we remember when TV came out, we remember when cell phones were birthed, we remember a few things, but oh my goodness, yesterday we had 3.5 and today we have ChatGPT 5 and it's 10 times better. So the pace of change is really bringing the future closer to us. Everyone says you've got to follow the money. This is just an article that I saw, or a graphic that I saw on a page that I follow, Visual Capitalists, and the investment in artificial intelligence. This is the truth about the numbers, and one can see if people want to follow the money trail, this is where our investments go. This is where your, call it, financial advisor might be looking towards in saying the future is here. And this is the big numbers. Look at the countries participating in this. I think that is my second last slide. Here we go. Who uses technology? Now, this is very interesting. South Africa, third on the list with who uses ChatGPT and other AIs. Interesting there. We're not the third biggest contributor, and there's still a lot of people that's unaware of it. But in 2024, South Africa made the top 3 of users of ChatGPT and similar products, which is very interesting given the fact that we live in this digital divide narrative and access and poverty in the broader sense. But I see something called the digital bridge. People are jumping a generation or 2 of technology in participating in the digital community, in the digital race. So yeah, we are not far behind, and I think that's why it's so relevant to know that if society is using it, how we're living, then schools must be adapting to that. Interesting fact today is that the exams for the broader matric group started, and this year's matric group is the last group at school that were born before smartphones. iPhone invented or released in 2007, Android came 2008, but there is no more a group at school that were born before smartphones hit the market. Very interesting fact, and possibly a generational shift. All right. Willem and I discussed a few things earlier as we prepped for the session, and he's going to show us some tools. I just did video tools in the last month or so just to test and play around. And I'm going to show you a little something here. Copied in with a presentation, created an avatar, and this is just for fun. Listen to Robert.
Hello all, my name is Robert from FEDSAS. Our aim is for schools to flourish and be super successful in bringing quality education to all learners.
I am Susan, and together we can make it happen.
If you want to laugh, hear me speak Zulu.
Well, I hope got a smile or two from you guys. I did nothing but type a few things, and this is the power of tools. 10 years ago, this video, if it was a promotional video, might have cost 50,000 Rand. I created 3 characters, different language, call it dialect and even nationalities. And suddenly we have something. I then went further and played with Willem's D6 company, call it protocol. I had an interview with the marketing director or marketing manager at D6, and this is what came
Hello,
up.
all my.
What
Hello.
came up from there. I'm just going to spend 30 seconds or so.
Welcome to the future of school efficiency with D6. Today, we're talking about school finances, a critical topic for administrators, parents, and learners alike. Managing payments, reducing outstanding fees, and ensuring a steady cash flow can be challenging. That's where D6 Pay comes in. Nelia Lombard from D6 is joining me today. Welcome.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Not polished, not really hard work behind it. Copying in text of an interview between characters and in video produced that. The previous one was Hygiene and produced that. Willem, these are crazy tools. I said yesterday in a talk that I did on AI, I started the talk with a guitar in my hand and started playing Wild Thing and asked the audience, what song is this? And I said, and they all said Wild Thing. It seems like we're in Wild Thing territory. Yeah, welcome to the stage. Give us your rundown on where we stand with powerful tools that's in our hands.
Thanks, Rian. I think the exciting thing is what we see now is the worst that it's ever going to be. And if we look at the speed of change, I mean, 2 years ago, these things weren't possible. Now it is possible. So it's interesting and challenging to talk about a topic which I have absolutely no idea where we're going to be in 5 years from now. It could be, one could perceive it as scary, or one could see the opportunity and sort of dig into this and jump into this environment and start learning as much as we can and leverage it as far as we possibly can in order to, well, stay up to date. But I suppose the irony is what I'm using today is already outdated because tomorrow things have changed. So it's almost like this catch-up thing the whole time, but it's incredibly exciting in terms of what's happening in the space. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity to engage on this topic. I think it's the challenging thing or interesting thing about this topic is everyone talks about it, but it's seldomly it's difficult for people that have absolutely no experience on it to practically see how it can actually impact their lives and how it could potentially be a benefit for them. So I've got a slide pack that I want to share just to sort of guide the thoughts. But Rian, as mentioned, I mean, jump in and please ask any questions that you might have while I go through this. So I don't know if this is visible to everyone.
We just see I'm on 2 screens and I'm not seeing your second screen yet. Maybe it's my Alreta, kan jy reg sien?
Ja,
All good.
dis goed aan ons kant, dankie.
Okay, Rian, then I don't know what you need to do. Can't fix your problem. Ask ChatGPT. Rian, are you still there?
I'm still here. You can continue. We're
Okay,
good.
cool. So maybe just from a sort of a sequence of discussions, I've just maybe back to the roots of why school management matters. And that's obviously a topic which, from a D6 perspective, we're very passionate about. And that's also why the allegiance with FEDSAS is sort of a match made in heaven. I mean, you guys are also as involved with school management and the importance of leadership and management within schools and financial management, which is also something which we're very passionate about. So just quickly touch on that. Then I'm going to go through some of the stuff from an AI perspective. For those, some of you might be very far down the line with AI adoption. Some of you might not have done it at all. We've attended, or we had a couple of roundtable events over the last month or two, and it was interesting how big of a mixed bag there is still of people that have not used it yet at all, and people that have actually excelled in it quite a bit. So obviously, it's addressing people in a general state. Some might have heard of all of this, and some might not have. Then I want to go into just a couple of examples in terms of how I use it. I think the the important thing or what I at least want to portray is some practical tips of how one could potentially utilize it for those that haven't used it. Some of you might be more advanced users than me. And then ending up with what, from a D6 perspective, what we're actually doing within this AI space, how we're leveraging AI in order to simplify the world of school management and school leadership teams. Okay, so maybe just back to the roots. And this was interesting since COVID. Schools are much more than just, or much more than just learning centers. I think it's whole child development. Our view is that it's a incredibly complex environment, of which learning is obviously one pillar that needs to be maintained, but there's also sports, arts, culture, social engagement. So a school as an organization has so many verticals of responsibility, of which learning is obviously a very important element to it. But I think it's much more than that, and it stems to whole child development. And I think the the one thing also is it helps parents not to lose their minds. I remember in COVID, it was interesting how many people we've engaged with where they said the most valuable thing for them was just to drop their kids somewhere that they can be looked after while they go to work or have to attend to work. Because in my view, learning delivery is probably going to be the element where disruption is going to be the most, but for the better, not for the worse. And school management, where we look at the school's responsibility to ensure that this organization is effective, is something which is critical in order to ensure that while this learning delivery technology rapidly changes, that schools have the ability from a leadership and management perspective to actually help their employees and staff members, including teachers, to stay up to date with these changes. There we go. There's always, we've got an analogy within, or a saying within D6, that you can build a successful business with an average product and great management, but you can't do the same. You can't do the other way around. So you can't build a business with great product but poor management. And I think the challenge that we see within schools is the ability for schools to maintain or to remain competitive and to keep up with the speed of change from a technical perspective or technology perspective. It's critical that school leadership teams and management teams have the tools and ability and willingness to keep up with these changes. So, and schools are also, as we know, and as everyone in the school know, I think it's interesting where I think the general public normally underestimates how difficult it is to manage this complex organization. So the importance and pressure for school leadership teams to stay up to date and to adopt technology that's available is becoming more and more critical.
Now, Willem, can I just jump in there and just anecdotally say that we find that school management teams and leaders and even teachers have this difficulty of explaining to people that spend 12 years at school as the customer, who now think that they know school because they were the customer. But it's far more complex. It's far more complex than it. You're not a school specialist because you were at school for 12 years. And that's what makes it slightly difficult, because the parents who are involved in school think that they know everything about it. But it's far more complex. I agree with you there.
And also interesting, just we've got visibility on probably approximately 2,500 schools. So and our view is that these schools are more complex organizations and larger organizations than most SMMEs in the country. I mean, it's a staff complement of anything between 40 to 80 or 100 people. It's budgets of anything between 30 million and 200 million rand per year that needs to be managed. It's infrastructure management. It's an incredible difficult product to manage, which is the curriculum, the CAPS curriculum for South Africa. And then probably the most difficult customer base, which is a parent and a child. And we expect from a general public perspective that these complex organizations needs to be well-oiled, but we don't believe that there's enough emphasis being placed on management and leadership teams in order to equip them with the best that they can actually get. So that's our passion. But anyway, moving on to AI. I think an important thing is I think there's two school of thoughts here. One is excited about it, and the other one is very scared about it. And I think our view, at least, and all of this is just our view, it's not necessarily a general consensus, but yes, there's this agentic world that is starting to grow, whereby agents are being deployed within this AI space that can actually do stuff on their own. But I think people who do utilize AI will replace people that do not use AI. And so I think the fear of AI replacing us is in my view, at least in the short term. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. I mean, no one really knows. But my view is that we need to stay curious and we need to sort of start adopting the technology that's available, but start slow. But I do not believe that it's something that we need to be fearful of. It's an incredibly exciting space, and I think probably one of the biggest disruptive environments that we've seen, probably larger than the internet or the dawn of the internet way back. So it's something that if we're not going to be proactive about it, we're going to be left behind, or those that are not proactive about it. Sorry, Rian, you wanted to?
No, I just wanted to say, it's one of those things that I find in my talks with schools and teachers. The fear is a big theme. We don't know what it's going to be. Is it this superhero or super villain? Is it going to take over the world? And then closer to home, is it going to take over my job? Now, there's been a lot of job losses in some sectors, but there's been a lot of job gains as well. So the market changes. But in the schooling space, and I agree with you, even in the school administration, the complexity of it, and in the classroom, I take a hard line, and I'm saying this very sensitively, but if you believe AI can take your job, maybe it should, because I think we need to be far more equipped within ourselves and franchised and agency and all these things that we say that we want, so that we know that if with the right tools, the right approach, this is making me better rather than replacing me. And that's, I think that's distilling the fear into something very good rather than something bad.
Yeah, agreed. Exactly. And maybe what I mentioned, thinking about the utilization of AI, I think the term AI has been actually with us for a very long time. We just didn't really call it that. But if we look at Google Maps as an example, Google Maps is a form of AI, which it gives you directions in terms of where you need to go based on your instruction in terms of what you provided. And that's a very simplistic form of intelligence that this piece of technology can provide. So it's been with us for a very long time. It's only now started to sort of significantly develop with respect to speed. And I mean, basic AI is where we were. I think we're already moving into what they call artificial general intelligence, whereby the machines or the learning models can start to learn and interpret stuff on their own. That's where we already are to a certain extent. And I do think that we're moving, and say that we're moving towards what they refer to as artificial superintelligence, where some of the functions could be done better than a human. Interesting enough, if you engage on ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these language models that's available, a lot of the stuff that I'm engaging on, this thing is already much better than I am. So I'm leveraging it as far as possible, as opposed to me being concerned that this thing is going to sort of make me inferior. And an interesting thing that I've realized, and through discussion with a lot of people, is that the utilization of AI, and when I refer to AI, I'm referring to the simplistic versions of AI. When we take ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, even Notebook LM as an example, I think people have this fear of I'm not being authentic, and the utilization of these tools will just enhance your ability to move faster and consume so much more data, and you are still the responsible party to determine the input or the outcomes that are being generated by these tools, that you are happy with it. So authenticity is something which is always going to be part of who you are, but the tool is not going to make you less authentic because you utilize it. It's similar to a calculator. I mean, it's back in the days when to be authentic, you are fast at maths and that is what you're good at. And now the calculator came out, and now all of a sudden the person that uses it is 10 times faster than the person that's not using it. It doesn't make the one more authentic than the other. But I think saying that, I think there's a large caveat to that, is that what we see just in D6, I mean, that our staff members, we try to get all of them to utilize AI in some form. And it is you can very quickly see whether someone has literally been just a conduit from whatever tool they're using, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these tools, to the outcome. It's almost like a copy and paste, and you're just the conduit. And it's very easy to see that people didn't really apply their minds and they weren't very conscious about how they utilize the tool. And it's also very interesting to see the other way around, where people are very conscious around how they engage with these AI tools, ask the right questions, make sure that you give as much context as possible. And the outcome is, it's day and night, a difference when someone is just utilizing these tools and acting as a conduit between the tool and whoever's requesting the information or the outcomes. And that is why I'm saying to be conscious in terms of how you utilize it is critically important, but don't be scared of it. I mean, a lot of these tools are free to utilize. And then we're also moving into this agentic world. Now, this is an interesting space which we're looking into it quite a lot, whereby different tools can start to engage with, or different technologies can start to engage with each other from an agent perspective. So it's almost like a one person engaging with another person, but both of these individuals are AI bots. And we see this space is already starting to develop, and something which is going to be interesting to see where it takes us in terms of which features can, or functions and outcomes can be automated through the agent ecosystem that's being busy developing. So, but the interesting, or the challenging part, it's not going to slow down and it's not going to disappear. No one's going to switch it off. It's going to continue moving, and each one of us has the sort of the responsibility to ensure that we keep up to date with, well, as far as possible, keep up to date with what's happening in the space and jump in and start using it, because the more we utilize it, the more we're going to see how it could benefit us. Just so maybe just from a thought perspective, I think I covered some of this, is AI, and this is referring to simplistic AI tools that's already available. I mean, one can go down the rabbit hole of automatic coding and this vibe coding concepts that's happening at the moment. And anyway, so there's I mean, it's a rabbit hole one can go down into. But I think just the generic stuff is, consider AI a ChatGPT or a Gemini at first. Just see it as a partner, not a replacement. It's going to change your world significantly. But as mentioned, be very cautious around how you use it, and not cautious in the sense of scared about it, but be, be not authentic in terms of how you use it, but you need to be mindful in terms of how you utilize the AI. So poor questions, it's like engaging with a professor. If you ask stupid questions, you're going to get a dumb answer. So, and it's the same with AI. You need to be very clear about what you want and give as much context as possible for this AI tool to give you more value. So your preparation is definitely something that will matter. And I'll show you now a couple of examples of just my world from a leadership or management perspective, how I utilize it. But it's going to be different for teachers in the classroom. It's going to significantly change their lives in terms of how quick they can produce tests. I mean, Rian, you had that one example that you generated an exam based on caps for one of your children. I can't remember exactly what it was.
That's a grade 9 math exam, June, for the CAPS curriculum, 3 minutes, 200 marks. And I've got the memo and she's got the question paper, and we've got mock exams unlimited in the house, which is one of the things that people want. So yeah, just as a personal tutor and a parent tool, but that could help the teachers as well. So it's already a partner rather than a replacement.
And interesting, so if I can move to maybe just some of the examples of how I use it. So one needs to be conscious about the settings within the AI tools that you utilize, whether it's Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok, any of these platforms that has AI capabilities, to ensure that the necessary tick boxes have been ticked in terms of sharing of information. But the tools all are built in such a way that you can specify whether certain things can be shared or should not be shared. So ChatGPT, for instance, has the ability that you can make it explicit that the information that I'm putting in here should not be utilized to improve the model, as an example. And it's the same thing within Gemini from a Google perspective. I'm not well versed within most of the other language models from an AI perspective. I think the stuff that I utilize most is ChatGPT, Gemini, and then Notebook LM. And Notebook LM is an incredible tool where you can input information into this environment and then ask it to generate a podcast between two people. Interesting how I utilize that as an example is if I need to do monthly reporting to our board members, I would utilize Notebook LM to import my monthly board pack. And then I ask Notebook LM to generate a podcast between two people so that our board members can actually listen to the podcast as opposed to them having to read through it. So that's an example of how I utilize Notebook LM. Probably the AI that has significantly changed my life is Whisper Flow. And Whisper Flow is an interesting tool where I think their slogan is we want to kill the keyboard. Now I'm going to just quickly show you an example of the Whisper Flow AI tool. This is my Gemini environment, and I've created a gem which is called My AI Copilot, which is technically sort of my assistant within AI. And within My AI Copilot, I've given it context around my life, who I am. I've given it context around D6 and what we do and where we're going and strategy and also what our values are, etc. And then within this My Copilot, I can then start engaging. And it's interesting how this Copilot is starting to learn how I am and how I engage, so that when it writes something that I need to, for instance, mail to someone, it is written in my language in terms of how I like to do things. But it takes time for it to start understanding it. But maybe just to look at I'm going to activate guided learning, and I'm going to utilize Whisper Flow, which is a voice to text. And an important thing about voice to text is I can talk at about 140 words per minute, but I can only type at about 35 words per minute. So I struggle. If I utilize voice to text, it is literally 4 times faster or 5 times faster than what I would have typed. So I'm going to take an example here. I hope everyone can see the screen. Can you guys see this? Just want to make sure that my screen is still sharing. Rian?
Yes. I see My AI Copilot grade 3 math test. So
Yeah.
we're good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to activate Whisper Flow. I want to create a test exam for my child who is in grade 4, and it is for the end of June results or end of June exams. And I want to make sure that this exam covers maths for the grade 4 learners within the CAPS curriculum. Can you help me to create a test for my child that he can exercise for the exams coming up? So what this thing now do is what it did now is it's literally voice to text, but the important thing is it'll clean up my ums and ahs and any inaccuracies or stuff that I've made errors on, and it will give it cleanly to me within this thing. And then also, for instance, on email, this is an email that I need to write to someone. Good morning, team. Hope you're all doing well. Today, we're going to cover 3 topics. 1, AI, 2, conduct at office, and 3, exciting stuff we're going to do. Hope you all have a great weekend. Let's see what it does. So it puts whatever I said in the right context within the application that I'm currently using. Now, if I just trigger this from a Gemini perspective, and we can see what it comes up with, and it's user guided learning. So it's already sort of activating the educational landscape within the Google environment. That's a fantastic idea. We'll follow a typical structure: June exams, score numbers, and then it's going to ask, the core sections we need to cover are these, and then section 1, numbers. Let's start with the first section, and then I can actually provide the answer to it, and it's going to give me yes or no. So I think the point is engaging with
Wow.
these tools it's so important that we start to be curious around what we can do with it so that it improves our ability to execute quicker. I use these tools every single day to clean up my own language, clean up the way that I write something. If I need to write an email, I can give context around the email discussion that's been going around, or a difficult parent, give context around, you don't have to give any personal detail, but give context around the parent that you need to manage, or your boss, or a teacher, and then let these tools help you to create feedback or a way of writing, because it has an incredible ability to also then consume a lot of historic data. So one last example that I'm using AI for is in the business itself is when I do development check-ins with my team. I have a specific project within AI or within Gemini for each individual that I'm engaging with. And I've given context of that individual in terms of their personalities and what they struggle with, their strengths. And then when I do development check-ins, I utilize the Gemini AI tool. So because it does not have recency biasness, if you engage with your staff members, something that might have happened 6 months ago, it might still be relevant, but we're recently biased mostly. And these tools help me to ensure that I engage with the staff members internally in their individual right based on who they are, because it's difficult for me to sort of fathom all of these different personalities. Some people do it more naturally than others, but it's been an incredible help for me to make sure that when I engage with people, I actually utilize my co-pilot, or my AI pilot, which is sort of my assistant, to help me with these relevant matters. So anyway, that's just sort of general examples of how I utilize the tools internally, and how it could potentially apply to you guys as well in the school. Then lastly, from a D6 perspective, what we're busy with within D6 is one of the biggest benefits of these AI tools is the ability to consume an incredible amount of information and relay that information in a simplistic manner to the user that needs insights. Now, the interesting part within the school space, what we've seen is there is so much information residing within the school management space. If we think about administration, everything about the learners, their parents, the educators linked to them, their code of conduct, their absenteeism, everything about their marks, potential, code of conduct, disciplinary related stuff. All of this data resides within the admin and curriculum space. There's also information sitting within the financial modules, and management teams struggle, and anyone within the school space for that matter, struggle to, for instance, gain simplistic insights in terms of all of this complex data that is residing within the school management environment. And the beauty of what these AI tools can do is take all of that information and provide it in a simplistic manner based on whoever is using it. Now, imagine sort of having a small ChatGPT or a Gemini platform within D6, which gives you the ability to engage on your administration and curriculum data. So you can, for instance, an example here is given all the historic information around all the learners' history, their marks, their discipline, their absenteeism, give me your view on which learners at this point in time is at risk, based on all the historic information that we have. And the AI models have the ability to consume all of that information and provide you with maybe 2 or 3 learners. And then you can ask, help me with a rectification plan for the next 2 weeks, as an example, because the entire CAPS curriculum is not foreign to these models anymore. CAPS is known by ChatGPT, Gemini. They know exactly what the CAPS curriculum look like and its content. They know exactly the intricacies and theory of everything that the learners need to learn. And they have so much additional knowledge worldwide that they can consume in order to help you as a teacher or anyone in the school to help these learners on the right path. Finance is another thing, to ask questions around financial information within the school. Governance reporting, I mean, you can, if all this data everything within the school space is available within one of these language models or in a language model of some sort, you can say, please prepare an SGB report for me to summarize the curriculum performance for the last month, and high-level financial information. So imagine that's sort of the world that we're seeing from a D6 perspective, and how we want to help schools and school management teams and staff members to leverage the strength of AI to make their lives easier. And then lastly, from a communication perspective, is parents have so many different channels which they consume information on. And it also gives the parents the ability to ask, hey, what did I miss the last week? What important events are coming up next week? And the AI models then have the ability to give feedback. So maybe just a quick example of what we're busy building within our administrative core there. Which students were absent the most in February? Now, normally you would have had to go to some report builder and then extract it. And then, anyway, here the model will give you, these are the students that has been the most absent in February. And then you can say, show present versus absent portion for the grade 3s during February, as an example. And it immediately, because all the data is residing in the back end that it's got access to, show attendance trends for February. It's going to show how the learners were absent during the month of February across the entire school, but one can obviously delve into the different information as you see fit, as attendance rates by grade. So anyway, that's just an example of what we're busy building, and we're fairly far down the line, so that school management teams can actually start extracting information in a simplistic way that is in line with what they are actually looking for, without being dependent on the actual limited capability of standardized reporting within the school management environment. And then from a parent perspective, what we're also doing is, we're busy launching a complete rehaul of our D6 app interface, how the app looks like, to make it better and more simplistic and less overwhelming for parents. And we've also launched our new AI assistant within our application, which gives parents now the option or the ability to access Parent Assist. And this will then give the parent the ability to, for instance, we've got a couple of random examples here, but what events did I miss? Or what payments is outstanding that I should access? Or what important events are coming up next week that's applicable to my learner? Because the model in the back end understand who is the learner linked to your environment. So it gives parents much more control around how they can engage with the information that was communicated to them, because currently they need to go and search for it or scroll through a whole bunch of notices that were sent by schools or emails or whatever the case might be. And now they can just engage with our Parent Assist capability to find information in an easier way. And this is going to decrease the load significantly for school staff members that are being bogged down by parents with unnecessary questions, because all the information that was communicated by the school to the parents are available within the D6 environment, and parents can ask questions based on that. And it can even consume the likes of a PDF. If you send a newsletter, and within that newsletter, there's something about the grade 3s having a trip to, I don't know, wherever, the zoo. The AI can actually consume the information within the PDF. And then if you ask, what time does the zoo trip starts, it will know, because it will read the information within the PDF that was distributed to the parent, and it will give the feedback back. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing from an AI perspective. And we've launched a couple of new stuff. Altivo, just to quickly, it's sponsorship management platform, because we know schools have the need to generate additional funds. I think now, what we've heard of, especially the Quintile 5 schools getting 500 Rand less per learner per year, that was recently communicated by the Department of Education. Altivo is a potential that we want to help schools to generate more income from their advertising. So it's an advertising management platform or sponsorship management platform. to help schools manage their sponsorship real estate more effectively. And then also fees, finance with ease. The other biggest issue that we found from a school perspective is managing debtors. I think in the significance of outstanding balances within schools is staggering. It is crazy to see how many schools are struggling with the effective collection of fees from parents. And we've built a module called Fees, which is integrated into our finance module, which automates the entire debt management process to ensure that the right legal process being followed with communication and registered letters of demand and all of these workflows that needs to be managed so that an individual is not responsible for doing it, but the platform Fees takes care of it. So all of these things are, again, back to square one, our ambition to help schools from a managerial and leadership perspective to be more effective, because we know that the sustainability of these organizations are 100% dependent on the quality of leadership and management and the tools they have to build to ensure that the school is run as an effective business.
Sure.
We've got a roundtable coming up on the 30th of October on our website. I think there's on our website the link to register. So those in Cape Town, Stellenbosch, Western Cape area, welcome to join our roundtable next week, Thursday. And that's a wrap. Thanks, Rian.
Exciting stuff. Two things come to mind. Just back to the replacement model. Will AI replace us? And I always tell people or ask people, did guns replace policemen? Not quite, but I think it made them more efficient, but it's a very dangerous tool. So you need licenses for guns, you need training for guns. So think of it as, yes, there's a gun, but for a gun, you need to have at least some sort of responsibility and training and understanding the power of the tool. So the second one is, which excites me, is things might be working. The bicycle also used to work, but you could do 30, 40 kilometers a day. Then the car came and the bicycle is not broken, but the car can take us 500, maybe 1,000 kilometers a day. Suddenly there's speed and efficiency. So we travel faster with a new tool. Doesn't mean the old tool was not right for its time. So we're not saying what we did in the past was wrong, but man, if there's a faster, more efficient, and in schools, possibly more cost-effective way, should we not look at that? Saving time in the office, which you showed us, saving time in being efficient in communication. The communication side of things, I think, your whisper got me thinking. Ask it to generate a letter from a second language English speaker to a second language English speaker that might not be Afrikaans first language at the department, so that we can connect and understand each other, so that I don't talk just through my filters, but that the reader actually gets, and communication is improved. Just letters to the department and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've got a few minutes left. I have a few questions, but let's jump into the chat box and see. We've got someone that asks a slightly different question than what we covered. Does D6 have a platform to use during budget approval meetings, hybrid type meetings for 2026, the budget approval? I don't know if you want to make a comment on that. I've got my ideas, but I'm not sure that you do.
No, so maybe I suppose if it's a virtual meeting, then there's lots of tools. I mean, hybrid. Zoom is available. There's lots of tools available. We don't specifically do it. What we do facilitate and help schools with is the actual voting and approval process, whereby schools can utilize the communication platform. We have specific voting components that they can get the budget approved. And we've seen quite a significant increase on involvement from parents when they utilize the platform for voting. But we don't dabble into the virtual engagement versus physical engagement. Well, there's enough players operating in that space, which we don't necessarily want to compete in.
Yeah, you don't want to compete with Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, or any of those. Maybe just to clarify that question, we send out a flash report today is the meeting must be a meeting. So D6 has management facilities and a voting or an engagement facility, but the meeting must take place and the quorum must be achieved at the meeting, where people can ask questions, where reports can be displayed or presented, and then people have engagement and ask, but why 10% on salaries and 3% on something else, and those sort of things. We've got someone's mic open. Just letting you know, we're hearing one or two people. Not want to eavesdrop on your conversations, but yeah. So the meeting is going to take place before the voting takes place. And yeah, as Willem said, there's too many players. FEDSAS uses Zoom. This is what we're on now. So that's just the hall. The virtual hall is Zoom, Teams, Meet. And then the way of engaging, the way of possibly voting, D6 has an option. I don't see any other questions, Willem. I've got a question about the reporting and the data delving. That excites me a lot. Governance, processing high volumes of data, governors at school. So you've got the managers and the staff at school that work at the school, but governors at school. I'm rushing to a SGB meeting at 5:30 this afternoon, and I look at the reports, and there's a lot of reports, and it's a lot of culture, sport, fundraising, marketing, and this. And then finance is like a one page, but I don't know the insights about the academics. Yes, the academics is basically a thumbs up. It's going all right. Most of our kids are passing. But you've got tons of data that is collected as school happens. And suddenly you press a button and it tells a story rather than just housing the data. The insights. And I think that's a critical thing that I want to just hammer on a little bit. The data is mass, but possibly too much for schools. And now you can give it value. So the value is not what the program costs and the storage house cost, but the time for your managers and governors to get the real value and the story of it. Do I read that right? You're muted up. But yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, Rian. What we see the challenge normally is that because there's so much data, people use selected data when reporting happens. And that doesn't mean that selected meaning only the stuff that you want to report on, but it's the stuff that is available.
Yeah, but that's what you usually see is people use selected data, so not the full picture, because the time to process or the time to report is not there. Is
time
not
and
malicious.
ability.
And ability. Okay.
Yeah. So I think what we've built now within consider it a small ChatGPT within D6 is the ability to consume everything and give simplistic insights over everything. So you could, for instance, say, give me a one-pager on highlights of schools, and I want these elements to be covered. Give me a snapshot of it. So it gives the SGB as an example, which potentially needs a top-down view, but then within the different school management teams, they could potentially delve into it in much more detail and then start engaging on it. So you might ask one thing and the feedback might trigger additional questions, and then you can ask again on it. So it's similar to any of these models where if you start engaging with it becomes the ability that it almost becomes a very intelligent and informed agent that you can engage with, because it has context and information of the entire ecosystem that you want information on. And then one can look at stuff, because there's the modular, there's obviously language models that are strong in data analytics or maths or just general language, or these models have then the ability, for instance, you can say, what is the relationship between learners' marks versus their absenteeism and disciplinary? Is there a relationship? And is there something that the information might show, because it has the ability to contextualize and sort of analyze all of this complex information, which from a human perspective, it would have been very difficult to try and orchestrate all of that. And it could give you that in minutes. Now, one important thing is there is this concept called hallucination, where the AI tools make up stuff which is false. And that's why human intervention is still critical, because you can't just accept that what is being presented is 100% correct. You always need to question it. But there's that joke, the guy that says, I'm very quick at maths. And then the other person says, okay, cool, let's test you. He said, okay, what's 5 plus 5? He says 15. What is 2 times 2? It's 23. And so it goes on, and it was wrong the whole time. And the guy said, but you're terrible at maths. And he said, no, I'm quick. I didn't say I'm accurate. And I think that's an important thing from an AI perspective, is that we always need to question the accuracy. And that's where our involvement is critical, because the AI tools, in most cases, are correct. But there are these hallucination issues popping up, which one needs to be very careful of, just being a conduit of asking and then presenting. Make sure that you agree with what is being presented and what is being said.
Far more agency in the human, not just believing that, if it was printed in, I don't want to knock any magazine, but if it was printed in the Huisgenoot, you think it's the truth because it was printed. It doesn't really mean it. If it was printed in a medical journal, that might be far more legitimate. But then we're coming to the end of our session, and I'm fascinated. I like where the time saving is and where the critical issues are. I've used ChatGPT to process data from the Department of Education, 22,381 schools with columns beyond AA and AB and BB on Excel, and testing the hallucination with my own formulas to check how many schools are doing this and doing that. And I get them with complex formulas and lots of hours and dragging and filling and whatever. And then I dump that spreadsheet into ChatGPT and say, here's the criteria. Identify the number of schools in that province that has this as a subject. Boom. Seconds. And the same answer. So I tested I tested my own work with that as a sideline. I want to end the session and say a big thank you to Willem. I think if we can be more productive in schools, we're saving time, saving money. If we can be more efficient, we're definitely doing something to the welfare of our staff. If we can give better information to our governors and our managers, we make critical decisions in fixing problems faster. And that is, I think, one of the issues that I really learned today. There's information that tells a story, and we can respond to that. So I've got 2 slides, but I don't want to show them. I want to tell you what my suggestion is for schools. Maybe I must just share it in 30 seconds. And just go. And what I think we should do now is we should learn of AI. It's the electricity of this generation. We should learn with it and work with it, enriching the processes, teaching as well as managing. We should learn through it. Remember, learning as we live. Learning through it means using it as a tool, going all out and plugging in databases in there or spreadsheets in there. And then very important, learn because of it. There are hallucinations, there are risks. We've got to have licenses to operate these tools. So schools definitely have formal and informal talks about this. Explore, play around, experiment, and it seems like D6 has a sandbox environment for you inside your school's own data. You don't have to jump outside and create policy and be scared of data sharing. And how do we learn? We've got to read, follow, explore. Follow us on social media, the Center for Technology. Get involved in our... follow me on Facebook. I'll probably post an AI post every day, if not 2 a day. And then go make mistakes. Go try it out and make mistakes. Get the newest magazine. Let's not be concerned about the digital divide, but let's create the digital bridge, so that we can be a truly effective digital community. And community plays to the fact that we are human and we've still got to touch each other, still got to look at each other. So with that said, Willem, I don't know if you've got a last word of thank you and goodbye, but thanks for sharing your time with us. People can contact D6 on the website.
info@d6.co.za.
info@d6.co.za. Thank you. Willem, thanks so much for joining us. Everyone, have a happy Thursday.
Thanks, everyone.
And a lot of places will be closing school early tomorrow, I think, because the exams are in full swing from next week onwards in the high schools. And we're thinking of our matrics, so go well.
Amen.
Take care, everybody. Go well.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.